Hey, Bulls and Bears. It is Sunday, November 14th, 2021. Thank you for joining me. We've got a lot of important economic financial news to get into you today. Back with another dose of economic reality. We're going to talk about the eviction moratorium, how millions of pets could be facing homelessness, and where are they going to end up? Shelters. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about supermarkets trying to cover up food shortages, the shipping crisis and the cargo container backup getting worse, and more not so good news for farmers and the food supply. Let's go ahead and get started right here. This is a shot of an NBC article. Crowded animal shelters fear crisis when eviction moratorium ends. Now, here's the story on that. Most states have ended the eviction moratorium. However, we haven't fully seen the consequences yet because a lot of things are held up in court. A lot of these evictions are being challenged, including lawsuits from landlords and just tenants trying to delay the process, and the legal proceedings have to play out. But take a look at this article. As many as 8 million pets could flood into shelters in the coming months, which would double the country's animal shelter intake as renters move out. So this is a sad part of the housing situation that I think a lot of people are not talking about. I was actually glad to see this article, even though it's a very, very sad story. Now, no one likes to see anyone go homeless, unless you're maybe a sick person. You'd like to see people go homeless, but people, pets being homeless, this is really, really going to evolve into a big, big crisis. We know that more tents are popping up here in different parts of San Diego. We know that homelessness is getting worse just about everywhere you look. Every state has an uptick in homelessness as far as my studies have concluded, my research. And what's going to happen when the animal shelters are full and they're overflowing? Are they going to maybe take some of these abandoned business buildings, these abandoned commercial buildings, and turn them into animal shelters? If so, who's going to work there? Right? Hardly anyone wants to work. And what are we going to feed them? Do we make enough food, animal food here in the United States, or is that sitting on a cargo ship somewhere? All right, this is it's a sad situation, and it's a disaster, and it doesn't seem to be letting up anytime soon. And we're going to have to see. We're going to follow this here in the next few months as states, are still battling back and forth, tenants, landlords battling back and forth. Speaking of evictions and delays and the battle back and forth, Massachusetts tenants and landlords struggle with eviction process after pandemic moratorium ends. A lot of people have no place to go, so they're going to battle until the very end, and they're probably going to sit there and squat as long as possible, even after they're officially evicted from their homes. All right, more on evictions. Here's what's happening in Pennsylvania. Landlords file suit over eviction moratorium. They say it causes tremendous harm. It's just a recent article just out a couple days ago. So there's battles happening across the country in many different areas. All right, let's talk about the food shortage and the supply chain issues. Supermarkets alter layouts, use decoys to fill gaps left by shortages. So what they're doing is they're taking the items that they do have and spreading them across the shelves, and they're putting up signs and different things over the empty shelves trying to cover up the problem. Bulls and Bears, please let me know what you think about this down below. Are you seeing this in your local grocery stores and department stores? Are you seeing the cover up? Are you seeing empty shelves? Please let us know down below what you are seeing. It would be really interesting to find out. The container ships and the cargo backlog is continuing to get worse. Recent article here via MSN out of Bloomberg. Ships keep coming, pushing U.S. port logjam and waits to records. And this just came out yesterday. And we're just continuing to see big, big problems across the entire supply chain situation. We see truckers, a lot of them are paid by the load. They don't want to sit there and wait 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours at the ports to get their load. So you have that. You have lack of workers at the containers or at the cargo ports, right? We have the labor force that's being obliterated, and a lot of things happening, and this is not looking like it's going to get better anytime soon. Out of DNYUZ, crunch at the ports may mean crisis for family farms. Yes, we're seeing more and more farms folding, going under, going bankrupt, shutting down, having to stop growing food because of the water shortage. Some of the farmers are actually getting paid for not growing food. I know that sounds crazy, but with the huge water shortage we're having here out west, that is something that's happening in some areas. Well, the jam of imports is just part of the problem. Farms are also having trouble exporting. Here's a story right here about a farm in California. California Dairies Incorporated, and the company typically ships about 50 million pounds of milk powder, powdered milk, and butter out of ports each month, but roughly 60% of the company's bookings on outbound vessels have been canceled or deferred in recent months. So what we're seeing here is an oversupply of some things because they can't be exported in a timely manner, and then an undersupply or a shortage of some other things, especially things that we have to import because of all the backups and delays at the ports. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have a broken, collapsing system, and nothing is being done to fix the problem. So expect and prepare for things to get much, much worse. And prices are going to continue to rise as far as I can see. A recent article here, Fed official, inflation will likely see higher readings before numbers start to taper off. Now remember what taper means. Taper doesn't mean things are going to reverse. It just means that it's going to be less of it, right? So instead of the prices rising very quickly like they are now, they're still going to rise, but just not as quickly. And that is not good news. If prices don't fall or correct, then the situation as far as affordability and people having to go further into debt and swipe their credit cards just to make a living, it's going to get worse. Right? Just like the Fed saying they're going to taper. They're not going to unwind their balance sheet. They're not going to stop buying bonds and mortgage-backed securities. They're just going to cut back a little bit on the amount that they're buying. And that's what the Fed official right here is saying about inflation. It's going to see higher readings, which is bad news by itself, but then it's going to taper off. It's not going to drop. Prices are not going to drop. The cost of living is not going to drop. It's just going to not rise as quickly. It's going to taper, right? More bad news. I'm not sure if you want to believe what the Fed official says, but if even the Fed is admitting it, then you know there's probably a big, big problem. FingerLakes1.com, 4.4 million people quit their jobs as unemployment benefits ended. Now, we talked about this for a while. Will the ending of the unemployment benefits have people rushing back to find a job? Well, it's not happening. So something else is happening out there making people want to quit their jobs. And when you look at it, it almost looks like someone is purposely destroying the economy. All right, we haven't seen stimulus checks come out in many, many months. We see that people on Social Security are getting a bit of an uptick. We see that wages are rising in some cases, but not rising near as quickly as they should to keep up with the rising costs. Please let me know where this ends, what you think is going to happen. Will there be a straw that broke the camel's back moment and a collapse? Or is it going to be more of a slow motion, kind of a frog in the pot kind of boiling, where things just continue to get worse as we continue here at the end of the 2021 and going into the next year? Let me know what you see on the horizon in the next 3 to 6 months. Please let me know down in the comments. People are either one, looking for entertainment, or two, they're resorting to gambling, as we talked about just a few reports ago. Just in the third quarter here, 2021, Americans saw record losses at casinos and casinos record profits. So are people gambling for fun just to try to forget their problems, or they're wanting to get out and just do things because they've been locked up for so long? Or two, are people getting desperate trying to find other ways to make money? So they're gambling in the stock market, they're gambling with other investments, they're gambling at the casinos. Maybe that's part of it. But the people that are gambling, some of them are not ending up so lucky. Even if they win, they're not getting paid. Online slot players say companies refusing to pay jackpots. Imagine hitting the jackpot online, but oh, sorry, you just don't get paid. Folks, this whole system is a scam. Be careful with your cash and continue to prepare, in my opinion. Thanks everybody for being here. Stay well, stay safe, keep stacking. Bye for now. Peace.